This lecture will discuss percent, which is from Chapter 8, Sections 1 and 2 from your online textbook. So if you feel like you need a little extra help after watching this lecture, make sure you just read Sections 1 and 2 from Chapter 8 to maybe clear up some concepts that you might need extra help on. 3 elementary ideas that we want to talk about before we even start the lecture I have listed below. You can see, just remember, percent means per 100. Just like there's 100 years in a century or 100 cents in a dollar, percent means per 100. And per 100 means divided by 100. So when you change a decimal to a percent or a percent to a decimal, you're either going to multiply by 100 or divide by 100. And an easy way to remember it is just think of the alphabet. On the alphabet, the D's over here, think of D for decimal, and the P's over here, think of P for percent. To change a decimal to a percent, you're going to move 2 places to the right with your decimal point. That's the same as multiplying by 100. Whereas to change a percent to a decimal, you're going to move 2 decimal places to the left. So think of D to P for decimal to percent, and P to D for percent to decimal. And then finally, a real quick way to find the percent of a number. So if you're asked to find 30% of 85 or 25% of 17 or something, here's an example right here. Find 27% of a number. You simply take 0.27, because 27% changes to 0.27, and take that times the number. So of a number means times a number. Now let's get to some more specific examples. What I'm going to try to do is quick review of some things you learned way back in middle school or maybe even elementary. Is how do you change percents to decimals, decimals to percents, fractions to percents, etc. So to convert a percent to a decimal, like I said, just think of P to D. So we have a percent right now. We want it to change to a decimal, so we're going to change from a percent to a decimal. So we've got to go 2 to the left. So take this decimal place and move once, twice to the left. So 57.4% converts to 0.574. Now mathematically, the reason that's true is 57.4% means 57.4 out of 100, and when you take 57.4 and divide it by 100, you're going to get 0.574. But like I said, just remember P to D, percent to decimal, go 2 to the left. Here we're changing a decimal to a percent. So think of D to P, which means we have to go to our right. So we're going to go 2 places to the right, and 0.1589 converts to 15.89%. Converting a fraction to a percent is really simple. First, just convert the fraction to a decimal. The way to do that is to divide the bottom into the top. So take 20 and divide it into 7, and when you do that you get 0.3. Let's see, 3 times 20 is 60, subtract, we get 10. So 20 into 100 is 5. We get 0.35. Now remember, that means 7/20ths equals 0.35. But 0.35 is a decimal. We want to change that to a percent. So we go from decimal to percent. D to P is to the right, so we move that 2 to the right and get 35%. Okay, a little bit of algebra before we start talking about some application problems. Let's review how to solve 5x equals 20. Well, to isolate that x, this x is being multiplied by 5. The way to get rid of a multiplication of 5 is to divide by 5. If you divide by 5 on one side, you divide by the other. 5 divided by 5 is 1, which leaves us with 1x equals 20 divided by 5 is 4. Now common sense told us that 5 times 4 is 20, so we already knew the answer was 4, but I wanted to review how to solve an equation in that instance. How do we solve the one over here where it says x divided by 100 equals 4? Well, the way to get rid of the division of 100 is to multiply by 100. So we multiply the left side by 100, we multiply the right side by 100, 100 over 100 cancels, and we get x equals 400. Now there's a reason I'm doing this. You'll see on the next slide. This one's a little trickier. We have 42 times x over 100 equals 3. What I want to do on this one is this. I want to get rid of that division of 100 first. So I'm going to multiply the left side by 100 and the right side by 100. That cancels, so now I'm just left with 42x equals 300. Now to get rid of the multiplication of 42, I divide by 42, and I get x equals whatever 300 divided by 42 is. Okay, I should have had my calculator in here handy. And let's see, if I could pause this, I would. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to do that real quick. Just 1 second. Alright, that's approximately 7.14, and we'll write that in and go to the next slide, and now you'll see why we covered these basic algebra solving equations. Let's solve some percent problems using these algebra skills. What you want to do is learn how to read an equation or an expression in English and change it to an equation. And when it says what is 17% of 200, the what is what we're looking for. That's our x. So what is becomes x equals. So x equals 17%. We know 17% is 0.17 of 200 means times 200. So we simply take 0.17 times 200 to get our answer, and that should be 34. So 17% of 200 is 34. Now let's look at this one. 30 is 45% of what? Well, what we get here is, here's your 30 is, that's 30 equals, 45% means 0.45 when we change it to a decimal, of what means times what, and our what is what we're looking for, so we can put an x there. So 30 is 45% of what turns into 30 equals 0.45x. How do we solve for x? Well, we need to get rid of this multiplication of 0.45, so we divide by 0.45 on both sides. So that gives us x equals whatever 30 divided by 0.45 is, and I get a 66.6 repeating. So 66.6 repeating. 8 is what percent of 22? 8 is what percent means what number, which is x out of 100, because x percent means x out of 100. Of 22 means times 22. Well, remember we solved one like this on the previous page. The first thing we want to do is get rid of that division of 100. So we're going to multiply both sides by 100. And that gets rid of that. And now we have 800 equals 22x. And the way to get rid of that division of 22, or that multiplication of 22, is to divide by 22. So our answer is going to be x equals whatever 800 divided by 22 is, and I'm getting 36.36 approximately. So this means approximately equal to 36.36. Alright, now let's go into some applications of percents. An exercise machine with an original price of $860 is on sale at 12% off. What's the amount of discount? Well, isn't that the same as saying this? What is? It's asking what is 12% of 860. Right? So that's x equals, what is becomes x equals 0.12 times 860. And that's how easy that problem is. Well, let's take 0.12, which is 12 100ths, times 860. We get 103.20, $103.20. Now, here's the deal. It then says, what is the exercise machine's sale price? Well, the sale price is going to be the original price, which was $860, minus the discount of $103.20. And that gives us our answer of $756.80. This one requires a little more algebra, so be careful here. It says Brett bought a video game that was on sale for 20% off. His price after the sale was $28.80. What was the original price? We don't know the original price on this one like we did on the other one. So we'll start out by saying X equals the original price. So let's look at the problem. He bought one that was 20% off. His price after the sale was $28.80. Well, we don't know his original price, so we'll just say the original price is X. We know we're going to deduct, in other words, we're going to take off 20% from that. Well, 20% of that is 20% of X. So X minus 20% of X has to be $28.80. Now here's the tricky part that disappeared on me here. X is the same as 1X. So if I take 1x minus 0.20x, you get 0.80x, or just 0.8x if you want to think of it like that. It also should make sense to you guys, if something's 20% off, you're actually paying for 80% of it, which is 0.80. So 0.80x equals 28.80. How do you get rid of that multiplication of 0.80? You divide by 0.80. So let's see what the original price is. Now, I have students every year want to argue with me that this isn't the best way to do this, but if you try it the way a lot of students try it, they find out they get the wrong answer. So I want to make sure that you're understanding why we're setting up an equation on this one to do it. $36 is the original price. So 20% of 36 is $7.20, and when you take $7.20 off that 36, you're going to get $28.80. Okay, I think we have about 3 more slides, and I've got exactly 3 minutes, so I'm going to try to hustle here. This is another one where you bought a stereo. It costs $153.70 after paying the 6% sales tax. What was the price of the stereo before sales tax? So let's let X be the original price. We don't know the original price, so we're calling it X. So, and we know that if we take X plus 0.06 of X, this is my original cost of the item. This is adding on the 6% sales tax, which is 6% of the original price. That equals $153.70. Once again now, 1x plus 0.06x equals 1.06x, and that equals $153.70. And then, by the way, I can guarantee you there'll be one of these, or at least one of these on your test like this, so take good notes or check out the notes on Blackboard or read the sections in the book. We need to divide by 1.06 on both sides to solve for x. And when I do that, I get $145. So it's $145 before tax, $153.70 after tax. Okay, the very last concept we're learning is to find a percent of increase or to find a percent of decrease. It's really easy. You simply take the increase over the original or the decrease over the original, depending on if you're finding percent of increase or percent of decrease. Then change that decimal to a percent. So here's an example of a problem like that. This happens to be me. I used to weigh 180 pounds, but then I snapped my Achilles tendon playing basketball. I couldn't exercise for a few months, so guess what? My weight it increased to 192 pounds. So I used to weigh 180, then it went up to 192. Find the percent of increase in my weight. Well, if I used to weigh 192, I'm sorry, if I used to weigh 180 and it skyrocketed up to 192, I bet you guys all agree that I gained 12 pounds. That was my increase, right? 12 pounds was the increase. If you remember right, we need to do increase over the original. So we're going to take the increase right there, the increase over the original, and then we're going to change it to a decimal, the decimal to a fraction. So I'm going to put 12 over the original weight was 180. So I take 12 and divide it by 180, and that gives me 0.0666. 0.0666. Repeating, when I move that twice to the right, I get 6.66%. That's it. Thanks. Bye.